go. So now, I usually do the whole page before I ever touch the washes, but for the sake of this recording, I will finish this shot, this frame. So I have a couple of aqua brushes. They're different styles. Pentel puts out many different under different names. It makes kind of finding them kind of hard, but Pentel makes the best synthetic brush tip. They're making this tool as well. This one's just got water in it, and then I have these I put ink in. So you could do that. I do that, and I have I have my scratch page, and I often check to see what I'm doing, what's going on. Sometimes you need to squeeze it. That's how you get more ink into the brush. You give it a little squeeze. It's got a squeezy handle. Don't squeeze too hard. And again, do this on a piece of paper because it might come out in a big blot a little bit. I got it going. This I use often for just big fills. It's a nice big brush. You should not sit around with your other brush uncapped. It gets dry. Put that cap back on. I'm just filling this shadow so it has a constant dark tone value compared to everything else, whatever else I do. And I'm roughly using the blue line that I'd laid down as the boundary. Don't panic too much about it if you make a little mess. Remember, you got your white Pentel, and you can also use Pelican Graphic White. This is a gouache. That's the original white correction paint that I started. And it's good, but it's actually not as good for laying ink over top of as the correction pen, I find. And the correction pen is basically acrylic, and you can also use white acrylic paint, but there it's hard to get a smooth surface. It hasn't been thinned to go lay flat the way correction pens do. So there we go. And this wood, I want to add some of the grain and tone. So those quick strokes, little shadow there, fellow shadows there. Inside of this hoop here, because that side's the shadow, and outside of on this side. Saw some of these rounded forms of the dragon. It's quite windy tonight. If you can hear that, it's probably very appropriate for this image. Halloween soon. I have not made any plans for a costume this year. I'm too damn busy. I do not know. Joked with Angela about a few ideas, but not done anything. Used to like Halloween a lot. Oh, I still like it a lot. I just do not have the time to play. So these eyes are all part of the sculpture. If this was a real thing, you probably would not want to shade the eyes in, but this is supposed to be like bronze or iron. I'm going to do some texturing on it for the finish. And so the eyes don't have any light in them. They're just a surface. Okay, his hair needs to be dark. When you're laying in shadows, be careful to pause and don't keep going all the time. Make sure that what you're doing is necessary. And breathe. Okay, that leg, darker shadows from the other leg. So this is thicker because there's more meat there, but the shadow would actually cast wider with the bigger form. Remember not to totally just copy, think about the actual shapes. Don't just copy what you did with the boundaries when you're doing the shadows. Think about how to sell the dimensionality and form and depth of the subject. I'm going to put in a hint of the spine, some of those ribs. I don't want to fill in too much of this dark stuff on his back. A little shadow from this arm. Inside of the arch of the foot. So the correction pen will be lighter when you go over it with a wash. I just daub a little extra wash ink there to darken it. I'll probably wait till it dries and do more touch up. You can also use another trick is with a pencil. You can often match it just with a touch of pencil. Like that. So, other forms of shading that we're going to get into soon, in its appropriate order, are all of the tonal things you can do with pencil. When you mix it with washwork, it gets crazy how fine your work can get. You can do a lot of detail just with tonal values. I added to it a little bit of detail with the line. If that's your goal, you can do extremely representational and realistic feeling work. The rope should be a little bit in shadow there, and a little bit in shadow here, until it comes out of behind. I want to highlight there. Hint of ground outside of the shadow. Some sort of stippling and little hatch marks. I could have got that really graphic, but I like a slightly more graceful feel. So I'm going to sell this idea that this is grass the shadow's falling on. Add its own shadows of itself, done in tone. Try to continue the patterns that I created in the ink. Part of the idea not to get caught up in working one area is that you can make many passes and build things up, and the work will be more balanced if you do. Your editorial decisions will be made in context rather than too localized. I want the shadow of its body on this pole. There. I need a thick lead. That'll work. This is actually one of my aquarelle pencils, but I'm not going to use water on it. Just just want to do a little bit of this. Some of this is just random noise. I'm kind of thinking about, I want the movement to come down and away. Just making abstract shapes to sort of suggest the grass that's there. On one side of the post. And maybe kind of like a crack and ridges in the ground that has some directionality in kind with the light and also with the composition of the page. Because I like me some details, but I like to keep the details suggestive. It's tricky. You can easily overwork things. I think that is done. There we go. It's always a little something when you stop to look. Yep. So there we go. Inks to tones.
And I know I'm unwell. And together we sashay through variations of hell.